The Nintendo Wii, a console which introduced so many people to the concept of casual gaming. Released in 2006, it went on to sell over 100 million machines. But here in 2019, we can do something much better than play casual games. We can play DOS games. In fact, we can play many systems on this little bit of hardware. So let's have a look, shall we? The Wii, a machine which both introduced and changed gaming for many people. Of course, for many other people, it meant nothing whatsoever other than a marked success for Nintendo, who tend to have a bit of a hit and miss approach in terms of game console sales, well, in a relative sense at least. But the Wii was different. It stood apart from the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3 by focusing on quirky, fun and social mechanics rather than a more serious, graphically impressive approach. I bought one at the time and I had many hours of enjoyment with it. However, the chances of me revisiting those motion control titles in the future feels slimmer compared with classics of the past. Although even now, playing tennis is still pretty fun. But I have other ideas for this machine. Rather than buying a load of cheap Wii games, I thought I'd hack this little beauty. We all know it's hackable, people have been doing it for years, but I want to turn this little box into a pure DOS device. One that I can plug in and start playing those late 80s and early 90s classics right away. So let's get to it. Here's what we'll need. One internet-ready PC, one Nintendo Wii, one standard controller along with a sensor bar, one old-school SD card, preferably 2 GB, and one USB keyboard, wireless or not, it doesn't really matter. So first up, connect up the Wii. If you only have the standard composite leads, that's fine, but I recommend either grabbing a component cable or one of these Wii to HDMI converters. You can get one for about 10 quid, which is about $15, and they'll let you get a decent picture from your HD TV using the Wii's 480p option. I mean, PAL already has a higher resolution than that, sure, but at least we'll be using progressive scan rather than interlaced. Also, remember to set your console for the correct screen ratio, whether you're going old school or using one of those widescreen fangled devices. This Wii has been reset to factory settings, which you may or may not want to do, but in any case, connect it up to your Wi-Fi or Ethernet cable if you have an adapter, and make sure the latest firmware is installed. It'll be version 4.3 released way back in 2010, and will have a letter afterwards depending on your region. As I'm in Europe, mine is 4.3e. If not, just go to the Wii System Update and hope that it works. With that done, find the MAC address of your console. It's under Internet and Console Information. Either note this down or leave it on your screen. Now, take your SD card and place it in your PC. Format it if necessary, taking care not to format your hard drive. Head over to please.hackme.com, enter your console's MAC address and click Cut the red wire. Save this file to your SD card. Now navigate to the SD card and unzip the file where it stands, so you have something like this. Right, time to letter bomb the console. Put the SD card in the Wii. Fire it up and no, don't get carried away making a me, for Christ's sake, it doesn't matter. Look, you can tell this is 2006. Gender is a thing of the past, Nintendo. Oh, yeah, right, sorry. Instead, check your messages from the current week until you find one which looks like this. Yes, there it is. If you can't find it, then it's likely your Wii date and time isn't set properly. You'll have to navigate to the current week to find the elusive bomb. Right, let's blow this thing wide open. Oh yes, that's it. After this boot text we get this warning. It will stay there for a few minutes, so be patient. Make sure you take in all this warning has to offer. Alright, joke's over, let's move on. Then we get here. Click Continue, navigate up to install the Homebrew channel, select Yes, click Continue, then on this menu go to Boot Me. Go to install Boot Me as iOS, click Yes to continue, then Yes to install Boot Me/iOS now. Excellent. Now, return to the main menu. Exit, and boom! You've just installed the Homebrew channel onto your Wii, which will open up the gates to many, many wondrous applications and games. Marvellous. Pat yourself on the back, grab a cup of tea and maybe a nap. Come back when you're ready. Good to see you back. I hope you're well rested because we've got a bit more to do. As you can see, there's nothing on the Homebrew channel yet. Our next task is to fit this place out. So turn off your Wii, grab the SD card and scoot back to your PC for the real work to begin. Right, delete all this crap from the SD card and head over to this webpage. Here we're looking to download Preloader. You see what they did there? Now Preloader does a few things. For one, it allows you to recover your Wii if you manage to brick it along the way. Secondly, it allows you to control what happens when the console is turned on, which will allow us to get rid of that bloody Wii menu. Unzip that onto the SD card's root directory and you should hopefully see it puts itself inside an apps folder. This is the folder the Homebrew channel will look for when loading up. We'll also need the Homebrew browser from webrew.org. Extract that into the SD root and then move the Homebrew browser directory into the apps folder. Next up, grab the multi-mod manager from hacksden.com and extract it to the SD root. That should place the folder MMM directly in apps. Finally, we need something called a forwarder. I'll explain what this is in a bit, but grab this one from MediaFire and extract it into the root directory of the SD card. This one doesn't need to go in the apps directory. Right, remove your SD card, pop it back in the Wii and let's go again. When the Wii boots up, select the new Homebrew channel and you should see this screen or something similar. You should have the Homebrew browser showing at this stage as well, but I did mine in a less efficient manner, so just ignore the discrepancy. Anyway, select Preloader, and once the text has loaded, press the plus button to install it. That shouldn't take long, and then we can dive into the Homebrew browser. Now here, you'll find many an app you can use with the Homebrew channel, including quite a few emulators for various machines. Now it's easy to get carried away here and download many of these, but let's not forget the goal of turning this into a DOS machine. You can always come back and fiddle about with these other systems later. So, find DOSBox Wii, select it, and make sure it's the one by Tantric and Carl version 1.7. If not, then look through the menu for another DOSBox install. Once you've found it, click download and sit back and wait. All being well, in a few minutes the job is done and you're now the proud keeper of a Wii DOSBox port. Exit the browser and go back to the Homebrew menu, then proceed to start up the multi-mod manager. From the menu, scroll down to WAD manager, and this isn't to be confused with a Doom WAD file, it's different. Select the DOSBox.wad you extracted earlier on the SD card, press A to confirm and wait a few seconds to prepare for the magic to commence. Turn your Wii off, then turn it back on. But this time, hold down the reset button before powering it back up. Keep reset held down until you are presented with this marvellous screen. Welcome to the Preloader menu, which allows you to do all kinds of wicked and subverted things with your poor little innocent Nintendo console. From here, it's worth knowing that you can boot back to the system menu whenever you like by selecting System Menu. There you'll see our newly installed DOSBox forwarder. That's all a forwarder really is, a direct path to anything installed within the Homebrew channel. If you want forwarders for other emulators, then you'll need to download them and install them separately. It's really an optional install, but it makes things a bit smoother. So from the Preloader menu, go to Load/Install File and select DOSBox Wii. Return to the main menu and head to Settings. From here, change the Autoboot from the System menu to Installed File. Save the settings, reset your Wii, and there we go. We have a Wii console which boots straight into good old DOS. Well, DOSBox at least, it's close enough. From this point, you might want to plug in a USB keyboard. If you've got one of those fancy Wii ones, that should work. Otherwise, any wired or even wireless keyboard should hook you up. Now, if you're familiar with DOS, then it should be easy sailing from here on out. If not, pay attention. DOSBox automatically maps the C drive to a DOSBox folder in your SD card root directory. So let's install something to use on this machine. I'm going to set up a few directories, one called Games, one called Setups, one called Menu, and one called Utilities. Any games you may have or have downloaded from abandonware sites can either be put into the Setups directory if they need installing, or the Games directory if they are ready to run out of the box. I'm also going to put some other utilities such as a virtual aquarium in the Utilities directory, because I enjoy virtual aquariums, especially the really crap ones. Get all the stuff you need, head back over to your Wii and fire it up. From here you can navigate to the Setups directory and install whatever games you need to. You can use the cd command, which stands for change directory, to navigate to the most relevant one. Most games can be installed by simply typing install, others setup, some you might find are ready to run, and some might not work. You also might get some which insist you install to the drive's root directory, but that's fine, it doesn't really matter. If you can't find the file you're looking for to execute or install the game, try typing dir star.bat, or dir star.exe, or dir star.com. This will reveal any files which can be run by typing their file name. Once that's done, if you want to do any tidying up, you can do it back on the PC. Put any games which are ready to go in the Games directory unless you've specifically installed them elsewhere, and then sit back and marvel at the tidiness of your directory listings. Well done. Now let's put that menu directory to work, because what would really make this a nicer experience is an auto-booting menu to run everything from. There are various ones still available for download, but this one is called Moo. Download the file and extract it into the menu directory. It should look something like this. We then need to go back to the DOSBox directory and edit the dosbox.conf file. Back in the old days, a batch file called autoexec.bat would boot every time you started DOS. With DOSBox, that file is integrated with the configuration file, right at the bottom. Here we'll need to add a few commands. Echo off tells DOS not to display anything whilst loading. C changes the current drive to the C drive. CD menu puts us in the new menu directory, and moo.bat opens up the menu program. Save that, take out the SD card and return to your Wii. This time on booting you should be presented with something like this. Now this is actually a previous menu someone has set up. I love stuff like this, it's like uncovering a set of documents from a lost age. An image uneroded by time of a DOS setup probably from the 90s. Beautiful. This is 10 times better than Oak Island. Initially, I thought that someone named Harry just owned and customised this program, But a bit of light digging revealed he was actually a professor at Loyola University and had written it himself in the mid-90s. So that's nice, and that light bit of history convinced me to stick with it. Oh, and the fact it makes these tremendous sounds. It also has a built-in screensaver. If you weren't already sold, check out those DOS smiley faces. If you never made a QBasic program with that character as the main protagonist, then you never lived. Regardless, I'm sure Harry didn't expect his menu to be used for this some 25 years down the line. Now obviously I can't access any of his programs from here, they're from his computer whenever he made this menu, so we'll need to customize it. So first press Alt and then F to bring up the file menu. Select N for new menu. Next go back to the file menu and select C to create menu automatically. Now it helps if you know the names of the executables you want to include here, because the menu will simply search through your directories and find every one it can. You can choose to add them all or just go one by one. Once everything is added in, you'll no doubt have some erroneous entries. You can press Alt and E and then M to modify these ones out, as well as changing the titles of the executables you do want to keep to make them slightly more user-friendly. Once you're done, you should have something that looks like this. Go to the file menu and save your new creation, then pop your SD card back in your PC and change the name of your saved menu to mainmenu.moo. You can delete the original one. Now your menu is the default menu, and whenever you start your Wii up, you'll be greeted with this splendid opening arrangement. You can navigate this using the keyboard or the Wii controller as a mouse, but that's a bit more tricky. From here on out, the best thing to do is to get stuck in. Some games you might find run better than others, and there are things you can tweak in the DOSBox configuration file to help when necessary. There are some games and programs which won't work at all, of course, and although not comprehensive, there's a link to a list of working titles in the video description. But other than that, everything is pretty much the same as a normal DOSBox install. You can increase and decrease your processor cycle speed by using Ctrl F12 or Ctrl F11 respectively, which may help you to get things working on the fly, but you might find that everything past the mid-90s is a bit slow. Even Doom, for example, has issues. You can improve things by setting a frame skip in the DOSBox configuration and lowering graphical detail, but ultimately this isn't the best solution for hardware-intensive games, and you definitely won't be running 3DFX compatible titles here. Still, you should be able to have a bucket load of fun with 80s and early 90s DOS games, including the game I'm currently streaming on Twitch, Star Trek Judgment Rights, although it's questionable whether you want to muddle your way through that or not. The Wii Remote can be used to emulate the mouse in most instances, which is actually quite refreshing, and you can even plug in a controller for games with joystick control, although I did have some issues with this wireless GameCube controller. Oh, and I definitely don't recommend mouse emulation for games such as Wolfenstein 3D. Ah, DOS. What a thing it is, though. A peer back into a timeless age, and a chance to play the games which started to make DOS such a great gaming platform. Oh, and let's not forget, you can always load up an aquarium once you're finished to soothe yourself to sleep. You can even run Windows 3.1, but I'm not going to do that here, not yet anyway. That's a job for another day. Perhaps another life. Thanks for watching. Have a great evening.